people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Unbeaten up-and-comer from Canada, Bree Howling, took to her social media and stated, "It's time to get cut again. Camp number 9 is underway. 2025 is my year. Hashtag belt season." It appears that the young unbeaten up-and-comer is targeting a world title in the coming year. There are 3 champions in the bantamweight division where Bree campaigns. Dina Thorsland, the best in show, Unified Ring Magazine Lineal, WBO and WBC champion, WBA champion Shernika Johnson of New Zealand, and newly crowned IBF champion Sharita Metcalf of America. Sporting a professional record of 8 wins with no losses, no draws, 2 recorded knockouts, there are some world champions that Bree Howling is a bit more ready for than some others, at least one other. This was the first year in Bree's boxing career that she fought more than once. From the moment she debuted as a professional, she's basically been boxing once a year for the last 4 or 5 years. Once in 2019, once in 2020, once in 2021, then 2022, then last year. Inking a pact with King's Promotions, a small, well-to-do promotional outfit here in the States, it seems to have paid off for Bree Howling because as a result, she was able to fight 3 times this year. The first time in her boxing career, she fought more than once in a single calendar year. Now, these opponents she's been fighting have been largely pedestrian, though you can hardly blame her, since Bree Howling doesn't come from some deep amateur background. She's learning on the job. Best described as a natural. She looks like she's got years of experience in there, like she's been fighting for ages, when she's really only been fighting since 2019. Not even that often. So she's targeting world title honors, but she's not ranked by the WBC and she's not ranked by the WBO, which gives me the impression they're not looking to corner a fight with Dina Thorsland, as she is reigning champion with both those alphabet organizations. No, Bree is ranked with the WBA and the IBF. Ranked number 4 with the WBA, ranked number 8 with the IBF. Which title should she go after? So via the WBA, former champion Nina Hughes is ranked at number 1. And it's my understanding that she is going to be fighting Shernika Johnson for the 2nd time. She's going to try to win her old belt back. I don't think that's going to work out. Early next year, on the undercard of George Kambosos' Matchroom debut, Shernika Johnson has a lot more fights, a lot more rounds in the bank, and a lot more experience than Bree Howling, as talented as she is. Against a better level of competition, better quality of competition, it wouldn't be wise to target a fight with Shernika Johnson, not right now. Even though she's ranked at number 4, and she's closer to fighting for that alphabet title than the other, she should target the other. She should stay the course via the IBF route, where she's ranked at number 8, because whether she likes it or not, she needs more bring-along. She needs more fights. Via the IBF, Mexico's own Diana Fernandez is ranked at number 1, and it's conceivable that Sharita Metcalf in the coming year may have to satisfy her as her mandatory challenger. Because of Sharita's age, it's also conceivable that the title may change hands. But however it breaks down, whether it's Sharita Metcalf or Diana Fernandez, that at some point Bree has to fight for the blue belt, those 2 fights with those 2 fighters are comparatively a lot more winnable than a Dina Thorsland fight or a Shernika Johnson fight. That for right now, the IBF route is the best way to go, because she still needs more time before she fights one of these champions. She still needs more fights, and by the time she gets there, whether Sharita has the belt or Diana has the belt, she stands a better chance of winning. That's the route that she should go. She says it's belt season next year. That leads me to believe that she's gonna start fighting in eliminators, ultimately resulting in a final eliminator to secure a mandatory position. Could be 1 fight from now, 2 fights from now. But at only 8-0 with no amateur background, she needs as many fights and as many rounds as she could get. have to develop, even if you're talented.
I don't think she's used to being pushed back.
And that can be a novel sensation for a fighter that's accustomed to having it all their way. She's still got to make her bones, in a nutshell. But, given her talent, next year could be the year that Bree Howling becomes a world champion. I would put it sometime in the fall, maybe the winter. If everything goes to plan and she keeps fighting and she keeps winning and looking the way she's looking, I'd say it happens around the fall or the winter.
For now, camp number 9 is underway, and we'll see who Bree Howling ends up fighting in the coming year.
Men's junior middleweight news, Boots Ennis changed his mind about fighting Virgil Ortiz Jr. People are not hesitating to let him have it. Virgil Ortiz Jr.'s manager, Rick Merrigan, has accused Boots Ennis of changing his mind. Regarding a potential fight between them, it had been reported that they would be matched at junior middleweight on the undercard of the likely rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on February 22nd. However, according to Merrigan, the 27-year-old Boots Ennis has been lied to, contributing to further reports that Sebastian Fundora could replace Ennis as Ortiz's opponent. You said you wanted Virgil at 154 about 22 times. Merrigan posted on social media, your father and trainer Derek Bosey Ennis said, you guys made us an offer and we rejected it on video.
And Bosey talks too goddamn much. Too much for his own good.
Which, as we all know, is not true, and someone had to lie to him. I love Eddie Hearn and think he's one of the top promoters that will further the sport and is and will in the years to come. And he said he wants you and Ortiz at 154 more times than he's hugged Anthony Joshua. It's okay if you changed your mind and realized that Virgil Ortiz is too strong, too fast, too big, and too skilled now. Ortiz has already signed and agreed to do the fight, and did so before I could finish what the deal was.
See, the problem with Boots is you've already been caught on at least one occasion using a fighter's name to garner positive press. You did it with Terrence Crawford back when Showtime was still in boxing.
And now, to a lesser extent, you've done it with Virgil Ortiz. You're one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, gifted, athletic, skilled, and a rare talent. I know it's hard to lose all that in one fight, but that's what the sport is about. You will be okay after, I promise, said Rick Merrigan. It's Christmas time in the United States, so give the fans what they want so badly. Ortiz versus Ennis for a super fight. It's not Daniel Dubois or Bivol or anything else over here they want. Let us know soon if you're putting yourself to the ultimate test as a fighter and giving the fans what they want and making a career high payday, or just simply doing another fight at 147 that no one can even pronounce or know who the opponent is, let alone care about. Ortiz is a different breed.
I knew this was gonna happen.
Said as much yesterday in my previous video that I was never expecting this fight to happen. I wasn't expecting Boots to vacate his IBF title at 147, to be a contender at 154 for one fight, just one fight, even if it's a good fight.
Still just one fight.
I hope to see you in Saudi Arabia, but be careful what you wish for. These boys are different at 154.
And hit like a truck,
said Rick Merrigan. Philadelphia's Ennis defended his IBF welterweight title against Karen Chukadzian earlier in November. Ortiz, 26, defeated Sergey Bohachuk in August. Fundora, also 26, has remained inactive since defeating Tim Kazoo back in March.
Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis. Talks obviously didn't go the way you would have liked.
No, I'm still talking, but when we got proposed the fight, it was at 147, which was obviously a no-brainer. Then we was told it was 154, which is fine, but it's just timing really. We've got unification fights in the work, and Boots has got to decide to vacate the title to move up to fight for no title. So I wouldn't say it's completely dead, but time-wise, if they're looking to announce it today, it probably won't happen. But it's on Boots, it's up to him. And he hasn't made a decision about his weight class yet, but he's still leaning towards trying to unify, so that's probably going to be the option.
Yeah, so beyond February the 22nd, could we not be surprised if we see a fight announcement between them two for the summer?
No, maybe in the summer, but February 22nd, I'm not saying it's completely dead, but it's difficult trying to close the fight on Thanksgiving and saying to Boots, right, you've got to vacate your title today. He's like, well, can I not unify? It's like, well, you can, but we need an answer. So that was the conversation last night. So we'll see what happens today.
Yeah. Does that mean he could unify on February the 22nd in?
No. If he doesn't fight Ortiz, he won't fight till April.
To make matters worse, now Jaron Ennis is playing dumb. He released a public statement saying, "I've seen the rumors on social media just like y'all did. As far as a fight with me and Virgil, I was unaware that alleged negotiations were being made on my end. From here on out, if it didn't come from me and me only, don't believe it, and I will address if I'm staying at 47 or moving up to 154 at a later date and time." Now, these rumors, these talks about this fight have been publicized enough that Jaron Ennis couldn't have been in the dark about it. It was his own promoter, Eddie Hearn, who on the 9th of last month revealed negotiations were underway for the fight between them to take place in Saudi.
And you're saying you didn't know about it. You didn't see nothing on social media.
And you weren't aware of the comments that your own promoter made last month. Come on.
Come on.
The worst thing is that he could have nipped this in the bud a long time ago. If it was never your intention to move up to the junior middleweight division, you should have dispelled that notion a long time ago, that your sole focus is unifying the welterweight division and you're not moving up in the foreseeable future. That's all you had to say. Playing dumb ain't gonna fix it, and like I told you, he don't fight Virgil Ortiz. What people are gonna say is, Boxing insider Rick Glaser let go of a seething comment on the whole thing, saying, "Hello, Turkey LL Sheik. Boots Ennis is a fraud. Now pulling out of your proposed Riyadh season fight with Virgil Ortiz for February of next year, as everyone in boxing knew. Virgil couldn't safely make 147 since 2023, as it was well written about, and Virgil had fought 3 fights this year starting back on January 6th. At junior middle, including winning the WBC interim junior middleweight title in August in Vegas on DAZN that you, Your Excellency, attended. And Ennis promoter Eddie Hearn knew all of the above too, because everybody in the boxing business knew. Ennis got hit with everything in his last fight against a guy that couldn't punch. Imagine a great puncher like Virgil hitting Ennis. Boots Ennis is a fraud, has no heart to take on the heavy artillery, Virgil Ortiz. That's the way this career boxing professional of 34 years sees it. Best regards."
You think that Rick was laying it on a little thick?
I do, because he's all up Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions' ass. But as far as Boots, I feel like he brought this on himself, because if you never had any intention of moving up to junior middle, you could have dispelled that notion a long time ago yourself. You let people believe this.
You let Eddie Hearn do the rounds on social media telling people that this fight was being negotiated, so you can't play dumb. You don't live under a rock. You see the same reports that everybody else does. You hear the same sound bites, watch the same interviews.
These are very bad optics for Jaron Ennis.
Even if I understand his rationale.
I understand the idea that you haven't been a champion that long, and before you even get to unify a title, they want you to move up in weight and restart that whole process for what is really just one fight, and good fight that it might be.
It's just one fight, and it's not even for a full title.
Virgil Ortiz reacted to all of this by saying, "I've always said I'll fight anybody, and I remain true to my word. Every single person that I have been offered to fight, I said yes. It takes 2 to tango in boxing, so if I'm not in that ring fighting someone, no, it's not my fault. Time for some of you guys to stop saying I'm ducking and don't want to fight, because that's not the case. This time, and it never was." To which Turkey LL Sheik himself responded, "You will have a great fight." Rumors are swirling that they've reached out to Sebastian Fundora, the full WBC champion at this weight.
Virgil's the interim.
That would be an ideal fight for Virgil, to fight for not just 1, but 2 alphabet titles all in one fell swoop. All those talks about Sebastian fighting Errol Spence Jr. seem to have fallen by the wayside, based on a recent comment that Errol himself made, that he hasn't heard from anyone about a Fundora fight in months.
Talked about that just the other day.
If they move on this now, get it done in a jiffy, that gives Sebastian just enough time to get ready for a late February fight date. If they move on this now and don't waste any time, but I don't know that Samson wants to put his guy in there with Virgil.
We'll see.
But I like that fight if they can make it. As far as Boots, the problem for Boots is you're foregoing a Virgil Ortiz fight at 154 to try and unify titles at 147. But unifying, you haven't had any luck so far.
And Eddie Hearn said, If you're not fighting Virgil, then you're not fighting in February, you're fighting in April. So who's gonna be available in April?
Not the chicken shit Normans, not Brian Norman. That leaves Mario Barrios, who is available, and a Montestanionis. The problem with Barrios is his name is attached to a potential Conor Benn fight. A Montestanionis, he's on the hook to satisfy a mandatory in Shakram Gayasov.
And did you see what he posted on his Instagram stories? His next fight may end up on the undercard of Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach. Presumably, the Shakram Gayasov fight.
Now, common sense would dictate that you're not going to make fighting Shakram Gayasov on Gervonta Davis's undercard what Eddie Hearn offered you to unify titles with Boots. No, you are not going to make that same money, but better still, that's what's going on.
And when is Gervonta's fight?
His fight is in March, which would make Stanionis unavailable for an April fight date. An April fight date with Boots. What did Eddie Hearn say? If Boots ain't fighting Virgil in February, he's not getting back out there till April. The dilemma. You're not fighting Virgil because you want to unify 147, but who are you going to unify with?
Mario Barrios, maybe.
Yeah, if Mario Barrios don't end up fighting Conor Benn, if he does end up fighting Conor Benn, you ain't gonna unify with nobody, and the optics of all of this become that much worse. And I'll tell you something. Even if he's lucky enough to get Mario Barrios in the ring, to have a unification match with him, people aren't going to be satisfied with that, you know. They already saw Mario get knocked out by a midget in Gervonta Davis, outboxed by a has-been in Keith Thurman, and go life or death with a journeyman in Abel Ramos. That if you go in there with that same Mario Barrios, no, that doesn't satisfy their appetite for what could have been the Ortiz fight.
But weren't you just saying the other day that you like that Barrios fight for Conor Benn? You like it for Conor Benn, but you don't like it for Boots.
I do, because Conor Benn and Boots are not in the same place. Conor Benn never really entered contender status, so a fight like Mario Barrios is a step up for him. But for a guy like Boots, I'm just telling you that making a Mario Barrios fight, if he's lucky enough to get it, it's not going to stop people from criticizing him. It's not going to stop people from calling him a duck, whether you agree with them or not. He's not the darling of the boxing world anymore. I said it in my previous video. They like this guy a lot more when he was boxing on Showtime. They liked this guy a year ago more than they like him now.
Pairing up with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom, that already garnered him a set of enemies right then and there. All those people that don't like Eddie Hearn, like Rick Glaser.
And the Haymanites, that's a separate group. They were hoping that he would go to the PBC and stay there. When he didn't, they didn't like that.
He's not the darling of the boxing world anymore.
And these are very bad optics. It would seem that Boots' buzz has lost considerable steam, but when you figure that all it was really based on was name-dropping Terence Crawford, clout-chasing Terence Crawford, was it ever really organic?
He came into the public eye as the anti-Crawford. The shield they were using, to shield Errol Spence Jr. from Terence Crawford, that's how he got popular.
So that when all that's said and done and the smoke settles, what do you really have left? That conversation is done. It's dead.
Still has a good buzz in Philly.
We'll see how much they can build on that, because right now, he's public enemy number one.